My name is Eleanor Whitmore, 68 years young, or so I thought before my own flesh and blood decided I was too senile to manage Harold's legacy. You see, my late husband built our Florida Keys cottage with his own hands back in '87, every seashell embedded in the patio, every hurricane shutter installed after long nights sweating in the humidity. When cancer took him 5 years ago, that cottage became my sanctuary. Or so I believed until the Tuesday after my cataract surgery. David, my 42-year-old grandson, showed up with paperwork thicker than my Sunday pot roast recipe book. Just insurance forms, Gran, he cooed, pressing a pen into my trembling hand while the painkillers made the room spin like a carousel. Sign here, and initial this tiny box. I should have known when he brought my favorite coconut cake, store-bought, the little cheat, when he knows I only bake from scratch. 3 weeks later, Martha from next door stormed into my kitchen waving a property alert email like a battle flag. Ellie, your cottage is listed on Airbnb as Crypto Bro Paradise. That's when I saw the deed transfer online, signed with a loopy forgery of my signature dated during my surgery recovery. My hands shook not from age, but volcanic rage. I called David, and that boy had the audacity to chuckle. You'd forget your own name by next year anyway, Gran. I'm protecting our family investment. Our family investment. As if Harold's blood, sweat, and dreams were a stock portfolio. That night, I dug out my teaching medal from '03, most feared educator, and whispered to Harold's photo, "Darling, time to teach our grandson why they called me the Barracuda." Tracking down Beatrice felt like orchestrating a military operation, which was fitting since Martha insisted on using her Vietnam-era field radio. Target spotted at Denny's booth 12, she crackled through my hearing aids. Beatrice looked like a wilted flower in that sticky vinyl booth, same girl David had love-bombed 2 summers ago when he managed her cleaning business savings. I slid into the seat, ignoring the smell of burnt coffee and regret. Heard David upgraded from stealing college funds to entire houses. I opened, pushing a photo of my cottage across the table. Her knuckles whitened around her orange juice. That parasite promised me a ring then ghosted with my $18,000. I unveiled my battle plan over rubbery pancakes, burner phones, encrypted apps, and a folder of David's crypto transactions Martha had acquired. Help me nail him, I proposed, and you'll get every penny plus 10% of what he stole from me. Beatrice's eyes turned feral. She spat into her juice glass. I want to watch him beg. We sealed our pact with syrupy handshakes. By sundown, she'd infiltrated David's circle as a cocktail waitress at his high-stakes poker nights, wearing a necklace cam disguised as a locket, one I'd borrowed from Martha's special souvenirs collection. Meanwhile, I began phase 2, transforming into the doddering old fool David believed me to be. Started accidentally emailing him about phantom rats in the walls, calling at 3 a.m. to ask if the microwave could brew tea, even wearing mismatched orthopedic shoes to church. Oh, how his eyes glittered when I confided in Martha about my terrible memory lapses at Sunday brunch, loud enough for him to eavesdrop. Be patient, Mom, he whispered to his mother, my daughter Susan, not realizing my hearing aids recorded every syllable. She'll croak soon and we keep everything. Susan's hesitant nod broke my heart into more pieces than my best china. The stench of cheap cigars and desperation hung thick over the backroom of the Lucky Anchor when Beatrice made her entrance. I watched live through Martha's surveillance feed. Lord, that woman could turn a walker into a spy satellite. Beatrice wore the uniform like battle armor, fishnets too tight, heels too high, and a tray of drinks balanced like she'd done this for years. David barely glanced up from his hand, too busy bragging about his oceanfront crypto haven to 3 men whose neck tattoos suggested they weren't venture capitalists. Refill, Mr. Big Shot? Beatrice purred, pouring Macallan 18 into his glass with a hand steady as a surgeon's. That's when I saw it, the flash drive disguised as a cocktail pick stabbed through his olive. While David rambled about blockchain, her fingers danced across his laptop keyboard like I'd taught her during our rehearsals, Alt plus F4 to mute, Windows plus L to lock, then insert the payload. The whole operation took 9 seconds. By the time David noticed the new waitress, she'd vanished into the kitchen exit where Martha idled in her '87 Cadillac, engine running. Package secured, Barracuda, Martha's voice crackled in my ear. Back home, I watched David's keystrokes materialize on my ancient desktop, every password, every shady transaction, every vile message about waiting for the old bat to croak. The piece de resistance? His offshore wallet password, Granny is a worthless hag. Oh, darling boy. You shouldn't have. That night, I baked special oatmeal cookies laced with enough melatonin to drop a horse. When David came checking on me, I played the confused grandmother perfectly. Who are you again? I quavered, pushing the plate toward him. Have a treat, young man. He devoured 3, never noticing me pocket his go-bag keys while searching for my reading glasses. As he snored on Harold's favorite armchair, Martha and I combed through his bag. Between stacks of cash and fake IDs, we found it, the backup drive labeled Grant's Cottage, Phase 2. What we discovered inside would have made my sweet Harold rise from his grave swinging. Martha's hands didn't shake as she plugged the drive into her modified ham radio, a machine that looked like it survived the Blitz. Found this beauty in 71 outside Da Nang, she muttered, solder iron glowing like a dragon's breath. Intercepted Viet Song transmissions while posing as a nun. The files unfolded like a nightmare, blueprints of MY Cottage partitioned into storage units, shipping manifests for artisanal seashells, a code name for heroin, and client lists that included surnames even my bridge club would recognize. Worst was the video tour David made for investors, him grinning in MY Kitchen, bragging about the elderly camouflage that made the property DEA-proof. Martha's cane slammed the floor hard enough to crack tile. That little shit turned Harold's paradise into a narcotics supermarket. We worked through the night fueled by spite and instant coffee. Martha reactivated skills she'd buried with her uniform. Encrypting evidence packets, syncing body cams to cloud servers, even modifying my hearing aids into directional microphones. At dawn, I placed the anonymous call to the DEA tip line while mimicking the quivery voice I used at David's PTA meetings. Young man? There's such strange activity at my neighbor's cottage. I described everything from the midnight speedboats to the men with duffel bags, leaving out how Martha had recorded their license plates through binoculars mounted on her walker. The raid happened at high noon. From Martha's porch, we watched through lace curtains as SWAT teams swarmed my property like angry hornets. David's scream when they dragged him out barefoot in boxers carried clear across the bay. My servers. You can't take those. He showed up sobbing on my doorstep hours later, snot dripping onto my welcome mat. They took everything, Gran. Even the Rolex you gave me for graduation. I patted his cheek with my wrinkled hand, slipping his backup drive from my apron into Martha's waiting palm. They're there, darling, I cooed, God never gives us more than we can bear. The onion juice on my handkerchief made tears stream down my face as I added silently, but grandmothers do. Family betrayals require family solutions. So I organized Sunday dinner like it was D-Day, Martha hiding cameras in the chandelier crystals, Beatrice posing as a caterer with a wire sewn into her ruffled blouse, and me lacing the sweet tea with enough truth serum, okay, cheap vodka, to loosen tongues. David arrived late, reeking of desperation and bargain bin cologne. My daughter Susan, his mother, kept touching her pearls like worry beads. We need to discuss David's situation, I began, passing around Harold's famous, and famously inedible, tuna casserole. David sneered. What, Gran? Gonna donate the cottage to cats? That's when I pressed play on the tablet. His own voice filled the dining room, *, just wait till she dies, Mom. We sell the cottage, split at 70/30ths. * Susan's wine glass shattered on the floor. You said we'd put her in assisted living. David lunged for the tablet, but Martha's cane hooked his ankle like a rodeo calf. Chaos erupted. Susan slapped him so hard his ear bled, screaming about changing his diapers while I worked 3 jobs to keep you in designer junk. Beatrice served the piece de resistance, printed screenshots of David's offshore accounts projected onto my good linen wall. Funny thing, Davy, I murmured over the din. Your IRS agent sister found these while auditing your business. Sarah, silent until now, slid a subpoena across the gravy stains. Tax evasion carries a longer sentence than property theft, brother. David's face turned the color of my beet salad. As marshals cuffed him in the foyer, I slipped Grandma's cameo brooch, Harold's last gift, into Sarah's hand. For the audit, I whispered. Her smile was colder than a mortician's slab. With interest, Mama. The courtroom reeked of cheap wood polish and cheaper lies. David's lawyer, a slick weasel in a $3,000 suit, pointed at me like I was Exhibit A for the crypt. Ladies and gentlemen, this so-called victim can't recall her own address half the time. He waved fake medical reports, probably forged like my deed, claiming advanced dementia. I clutched Harold's cameo brooch, feeling its cold metal bite my palm. Patience, Ellie. Let him dig his grave. When the judge asked if I understood the charges, I let my voice quiver like overcooked jelly. See, could you speak up, dear? My hearing aids. David smirked from the defense table, already counting imaginary millions. That's when his lawyer made his fatal mistake. Your Honor, we move to dismiss based on the plaintiff's mental incompetence. The gallery gasped. I caught Martha's eye in the back row, her signal. With a dramatic sigh, I rose slowly, gripping my rosewood cane. Incompetent? I chuckled, flicking the laser pointer hidden in its tip. A red dot danced across the projector screen like a vengeful firefly. Let's discuss competence, counselor. I highlighted David's encrypted messages, *Grannis cottage equals heroin storage _unit 3. See this? Your demented plaintiff cracked his code using skills from teaching 5th grade math. I tapped my temple. Algebra sticks, unlike loyalty to thieving grandsons. David's scream, "She set me up," was drowned by the gavel's thunder. Martha later said the laser dot on his forehead was accidental. Sure it was. 15 years. The judge's words hung in the air like a guillotine blade. David crumpled, but true vengeance isn't measured in prison time. As marshals hauled him up, I shuffled close, smelling his sweat-soaked suit. Remember teaching me about NFTs, darling? I whispered, adjusting his crooked tie like a doting grandmother. Turns out Martha's hacker friend transferred yours to my wallet this morning. His pupils dilated. My bored ape, my CryptoPunks. Liquidated, I breathed. Beatrice starts med school Monday. Martha gets her titanium hip next week. Your digital empire paid for both. He lunged, teeth bared, but I'd already slipped Harold's final gift into his pocket, a vintage handkerchief monogrammed HW for Harold Whitmore, and handcuff wipes. For the road, sweetheart, I called as they dragged him out. His howl, "I'll kill you, you old bitch," made jurors flinch. I just smiled. Let him rot with rage. Outside, Beatrice waited with a present. David's mint-condition Rolex. Pawn shop gave $18,500, she said. Exactly what he stole from me. We toasted with lukewarm coffee from paper cups. Justice tastes bitter. Perfect. Today, my porch swing creaks under the weight of healing. Single mothers rent Harold's cottage for $1 a year, their kids' laughter echoing off walls that once stored poison. Little Maria, 4, leukemia survivor, calls it the magic shell house. I watch them build sandcastles where drug mules once docked. Martha's teaching self-defense classes in the backyard. Grip the attacker's throat here, she barks at widows in floral dresses. Last Tuesday, we repurposed David's surveillance cameras to watch sea turtle nests. Poetic justice, Martha grunted, mounting a lens between hurricane shutters. Susan visits Sundays, her eyes still shadowed. How can you forgive me for not seeing his evil? She sobs into my lavender-scented shoulder. I stroke her hair, once blonde like David's, now streaked gray with guilt. Mothers see hope, not monsters, I murmur. But late nights, I hear Harold's ghost in the wind chimes. You went too far, Ellie. Maybe. Until I get Beatrice's text. Passed anatomy finals. Used David's crypto-hag money for cadavers. Irony tastes great. Then I uncork the cheap sherry. Some legacies need burning down to grow something better. Maria's mother found the loose floorboard last week, right where David hid his drug ledgers. Beneath it? Harold's World War II love letters to some French girl named Elodie. My hands shook reading them. Ma chérie, the orchids near can remind me of your skin. Martha snorted. Old Hal had moves. I burned them over the grill, watching petals of ash rise. Not from jealousy. Harold deserved secrets. What shocked me was Maria's gift next morning, a crayon drawing of me as a superhero. Grandma Fury, she'd scrawled. Her mother whispered, she knows you saved us. That's when the reporter showed up, sharp-eyed and hungry. True Crime Podcast, she announced, shoving a mic near my rhubarb pie. Tell us about destroying your grandson. I served her the extra spicy slice, Carolina Reaper infusion, Harold's recipe. Land sakes, dear. I fanned myself as she choked. At 68, you prune rotten branches or the whole tree collapses. Her coughing fit made Maria giggle. Martha later mailed her David's prison intake photo. For context, she'd scribbled. Some roots need salting. David's up for parole in 2038. Martha's already planned our visit. Got blueprints from my pen pal Warden, she grinned, spreading schematics over my quilt. We'll smuggle in ghost pepper seeds in my prosthetic hip. I sipped chamomile tea, eyeing her highlighted sections, guard rotation gaps. Ventilation shafts. Martha, I sighed, we're 78, not Jason Bourne. She cackled. Age makes us invisible, Ellie. Outside, Beatrice taught Maria to suture grapefruits. Lesson 1, never hesitate, she said, needle flashing. The girl's fierce focus reminded me of David at 7, before greed curdled him. Susan arrived with legal papers. Petition to disown him, she rasped. Sign here. Her hand trembled. I folded the document into a paper airplane, sailing it into the sunset. Blood doesn't erase, honey, I said gently. But prison tattoos fade. That night, I left David's childhood baseball mitt at Harold's grave. Forgiveness? No. But letting go of poison. Mostly. Martha's right, 2038 isn't that far. And my pepper garden's thriving.